Welcome, friends. Today we are going to look at a slightly different topic. It is linked to astrology, but I'm trying to see how I can relate astrology with the economic cycles in the world. So basically, I'm trying to analyze the economic cycles based on Saturn transits. So, as you can see in the graphic here, which I have drawn, you can see that Saturn in Capricorn, then you can see Saturn in Capricorn again, and Saturn in Capricorn, and the fourth one as well. Now, let's look at it one by one. Saturn is a planet that has a cycle of 30 years. Now, in 1931, Saturn entered Capricorn. So, what's the big deal? If you look at the history, you can see that in 1931 and 32, there was what we now know as the Great Depression. More than 2,300 banks went down in the United States. The growth was at a negative 8.5%. There was a sharp decline in international trade. Across the globe, across all the developed countries, there was a significant drop in the international trade volumes. There was a recession all over the world. Now, 1931, when Saturn entered Capricorn, it did not, what you can say, it was not the prime, you can say, mover for the economic recession or the Great Depression. What I'm trying to analyze here is that the trigger was the Saturn's entry into Capricorn. Let me repeat, the conditions for the Great Depression did start earlier than 1931, for sure. But the trigger was when Saturn entered Capricorn. Now, Saturn enters a Rashi, a zodiac sign. Initially, it enters, and then after some time it goes retrograde. That means it goes backwards. And when after being retrograde for 6 months or 5 months, it again comes back with full vigor into the same Rashi, which is the Capricorn in this case. So this is what I'm trying to say. So Saturn, when it came back with full vigor, it actually triggered the crisis. Let me also give you an indication that Saturn's own Rashi, Makar or Capricorn, is Saturn's own Rashi. So, whenever Saturn is going into its own Rashi, the results or the effects can be felt earlier than the actual point of entry or the date of entry. This is to be noted. Now, let us go on to the next one. Saturn in Capricorn in 1961 to 64. Well, 1961 to 64 didn't look like a big, I didn't find anything very big or significant. However, look, here we are trying to understand how economic cycles work. And according to what I have analyzed, I'm not an economist, but what I felt was that whenever we are looking at some major changes that define or redefine the economic world order or the way international business is done or trade is done, that's where we have to look at the fundamentals in this case. For example, here we had in 1960 OPEC was formed. Now OPEC is well known, is oil producing countries, so the Middle East countries. Now what happened was oil became a commodity which was much sought after. It was like black gold, and you know very well what it meant in the coming years. What happened because of oil, what went wrong or right because of oil. The other major event which I feel was the space technology, the advancements in space technology. There was a giant leap in the way we look at technology. The way we look at technology is that there was this giant leap where rockets, satellite technology, man mission to moon, etc., etc., communication networks, these are now known as the backbone of the new economy. The way businesses are done, internet, communication networks, the speed and ease of communicating, this has revolutionized the business or the economics or the way business is done. And the foundation was laid in 1960s, early 1960s. So I consider these two as one of the most important things which happened in 1960s. Yes, there could be many more which I may not have identified, but this is a very short video, so I just wanted to keep that short. Keep this a very short video. Now we will go into the 1990-1993 period again. Let me emphasize, I am only looking at the economic cycles or business or international trade or something that defines or redefines business, trade, economics, etc., etc., economic growth and stuff like that. So we see that the world was divided into two blocks: capitalism, capitalist countries led by United States, and the other one was the communist bloc, which was led by USSR. 25th December 1991, USSR collapsed. Yes, again, let me emphasize here, it did not happen on the on that 25th December 1991. There were a lot of things before. Yes, the trigger was 25th December 1991. The world that was bipolar became unipolar. Capitalism took the center stage, and we know what happened after that. Let's look at the last one, and that's where we are now. Saturn enters Capricorn on 24th January 2020. We know what that has done to the world. We know what has happened in the last few months. We know what has happened to oil. We know what has happened to trade. But a background is required. In the last 2 decades, cheaper credit has led to an explosion in consumerism. There is too much consumerism. Everybody is over exploiting the resources. Things seem to be, things are going too fast. It's going at rocket speed, the way we are exploiting resources, the way we are, kind of destroying the environment, the way countries and the way governments are run. Things are going, out of control. Let me give you a reminder. In astrology, Saturn is considered as a karmic planet. That means it tries to do rebalancing. That means if there is an imbalance, it will try to put it or set it right. This is the karmic effect of Saturn. Now, as we know that everything seems to be going at a rocket speed, well, we know what happened. The brakes were applied on 24th January. My biggest fear is that we are now looking at a new economic order. This might emerge. Now let us look at some of the graphics or some of the points or the bubbles that I've made here. The trade, Corona, oil, China, USA. You can guess whatever you feel like. It's up to you. What I'm saying is that 20th September and thereafter, let me repeat, 20th September 2020 and thereafter, there would be something significant that will happen, and that will change the way we look at things, especially international trade, economics, and business. We all know what has happened, but what I'm thinking is I've just done a small research work on the last 4 cycles. Yes, more research is required in this, but Saturn does play an important role in, kind of shaping how economic cycles work. Especially it helps in giving us giving us an indication, or gives us a predictive methodology, or it is something by which we can predict the trigger point. As a consultant, yes, I do consult some companies, and I have helped companies in, of course, you can assume that I'm bluffing. I don't care, but I know what I've done with some of the companies whom I consult. They took action, preemptive action, and you know what happened. 14 January, Sun entered Capricorn, Makara. Sun and Saturn are, kind of enemies. The friction started then. It did start before, but it started accelerating. Things started going in the wrong direction. And from 24th January until 11th of May, let me repeat, from 24th January until 11th of May, let me write this down because, it's important. 11th of May, the Saturn was going as per its normal, transit. On the 11th of May, the Saturn became retrograde. That means it is going back to Sagittarius Dhanu Rashi. After 29th September 2020, Saturn comes back to Makara, which is Capricorn. Let's wait until then. Thank you very much. If you have any research questions, or if you want to research more on this, and if you want me to look into something more in the Saturn cycles, please put a comment and I'll be happy to respond. Thank you very much.